Welcome everybody to our school report card training. This is being hosted by the Data Governance Committee. The Data Governance Committee works on the school report card as one of their subcommittees. A lot of the folks on data governance are also in the school report card team. So welcome to Teams. I am Dee Dee Connor. I'm the Chief Data Officer. I have the honor of also chairing the Data Governance Committee and also the school report card team. So do enjoy this work, and we want to make sure that KDE folks are aware of what is available. Do take a look at your teams and look at the very top where you have the Q&A. You might not have used this before, but if you click on the Q&A, if you do have questions that come in during the, if we have questions that come up during the training, please go ahead and submit them. The school report card team is online, and they'll be responding as we go, and we will also have some time at the end if any of those need additional discussion. So a lot of work does go into the school report card reporting every year. School report card is bigger than just what we call our Bright Bytes site, which is where we're going to focus most of our day. But I want to just kind of make sure that everybody is aware of our open house site. We do have open house site. We consider that part of our school report card. Not every piece of data fits in the school report card. So there is some supplemental data available in the open house site, including information on schools and districts, the links to the school report card, and some supplemental data. But if you click on the school report card itself, you're going to see some additional components where we go to the main landing page. And we do partner with Bright Bytes, who's now owned by Google, in that work. And we're going to go through that site primarily today, but I don't want to not mention the fact that every family has access to their students' information through the parent portal in Infinite Campus, and we also consider that part of our school report card because often families want to know first what's more about their individual student, and the school report card data is very much aggregated and is depressed. So moving on to the landing page for the school report card, it does come up to a welcome. Every year we have a new card and we do some additional information. So if you go back to previous years, you'll see different information. But before we go into this in any detail, I do want to introduce our committee. This committee works year round. It's not about just a few months of putting the school report card together. All offices are involved. We start identifying changes for the next year right after the card is published. We base those changes on feedback we receive on the school report card, legislative mandates that we're required to do. And we also try to make sure that we're aligning to agency priorities. And each of the school report card members and data governance members are encouraged to bring those items to the school report card committee and include those in the new work for the upcoming year. So just to start with the subcommittee members, we've got the Office of Assessment and Accountability. We have a host of folks working on that. We typically have one primary member and then a backup. But in OAA, we have Mike Prater, Zoan, and I'm not so sure I said that right, John Wickheiser, Nathan Rome, Kevin Hill, Jennifer Stafford, and Ben Riley. In the Office of Continuous Improvement Support, any of this is sure. Well, see, OCIS, Wendy is online, and we also have Marjorie Conley that works with us. The Office of Career Technical Education, we've got Scott Gusella, Claude Christian, and now Kim Walters. The Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness, we have Scott Tremalis on with us today, and Todd Davis is that work. Office OFO is Jesse Carlton, Josh Whitlow, and Laura Lohman. And we've got the Office of Legal Support and Commissioner's Office and Communications. We've got Jennifer Ginn, Jacob Perkins, Jackie Thompson, Melody Cooper. So the Office of Special Education and Early Learning, I got that one right. OSEAL is Amy Patterson, Andrea Bartholomew, Natasha Oglesby, and Tasha Oglesby. And Natasha will be with us today doing some of the updates. And the Office of Teaching and Learning, we've got Karen Davidson and Thomas Klaus. And the Office of Education Technology, besides myself, we've got Ben Maynard. We only have one little piece of data in the school report card, but we do support all the offices. Jeannie Devers is recently joining the group. We've got Martin Herbner, and Michael Spence has supported this work. So overview, just want to start, if you land here, and I would encourage you, if you've got multiple monitors and you can, pull up the school report card on another monitor. Go through this with me, because sometimes it helps to stay engaged if you're actually got something to do during it. So go to your favorite school and district that you want to go to. I'm going to pick on Franklin today just because they're close. We're right here in Frankfort today. So if I type in Franklin, you're going to see all this come up, and I'm going to see Franklin County. So I can start right here. I also could just say I want to explore the statewide education data. If I go to statewide education data, I'm going to see all the information that's aggregated up at the state level. But if I also get here and I'm thinking I really wanted Franklin right here, and go back to Franklin County here. Once I'm in Franklin County, I think, well, I really want to see my school information, not my district. I can click right here and just see all the schools that are in the district, and I can choose one. And I can be right there. And if I want to go back, I can just go back to Franklin County by clicking one button. So it is information that's readily available. We do have information. We're going to keep this at a high level today, but if you have additional questions, I would encourage you to reach out to the individual that's kind of going over that section for more details and play around with it yourself. There's nothing you can do to hurt this system. I mean, it's out there. It's for public use. We encourage use. And we really want KDE folks to be aware of it, because data can drive action. And we make a lot of data available. We want folks to be taking advantage of that. So if you look at the landing page, you're going to see there's an opportunity to compare some key topics. You can choose up to 4 districts or 4 schools, a mixture of whatever. Look at the statewide compared to those, and look at some of these key topic areas. Besides that, you're going to see information about the school. If you were looking at this at school level, you're going to see the principal. If it's superintendent, you're going to see a superintendent. You're going to see information about their overall performance rating for that school district or the state, depending on what level you're at. Some information about counts of schools, number of students. Schools, districts have an opportunity to put a message from the superintendent, so you can see what the superintendent has to say. Just basic information about where the school is and some additional information. Within that, we've got key topic areas, and we'll be going into these for more detail, but you can see here some, what we call, this is our landing page, some key infographics that provide some additional information as you go down here. And then we go into, at the very bottom, you have got like footer, where you can get into some data sets. You can get into the glossary, and they've got other education data links and some additional helpful tools there. So do take a look at that. I am going to, from here, I am going to start going through the main part of the key topics area. And the first one that we're going to hit on is the overview area and students. So I'm going to turn that part over to Jesse and
all right,
go from there.
Ready to go? All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jessie Carlton, and I am in the Office of Finance and Operations. And I have tried to turn on my camera. Oh, there it goes. Okay, we're good. All right. So we're going to start with the overview domain. We have several tabs here. I'm going to be going through the student section. So when you start thinking in finance and operations, we kind of start with students first. So first tab right there is enrollment. And as Dee Dee said at the beginning, if you have any questions about these, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to hit these at a very, very high level today. Okay, so student membership under there in enrollment. This is normally in a normal year. We haven't had very many of those lately. This would be a membership number from the SAR report, or the Superintendent's Annual Attendance Report. Because of COVID, we haven't processed that report for a while, so we still needed the membership data on school report card. So we have kind of found a way to pull that data out of Infinite Campus and kind of mimic that report. So that is a count of students on the last day of school in the year, whether you're at the district or a school level. All right, rolling on down, you then have a total student count report, which is very, you think it sounds very similar, but what a total student count report does is it looks at students enrolled in your school or district anytime during the school year. So if you have a kiddo who came in at the first half of the school year but then left in December, they would still count on this total student count report. It is unduplicated, so if they hop in and out, they're still only going to be counted once. But that's how it differs from the membership report. At the very bottom, you have a secondary enrollment. And as you can see right here, or I think we're still in Franklin County, yes, there are no secondary enrollments there. They may have a handful of secondary enrollments, but this is mainly for our ATC. So at our area technical colleges, a lot of time those kiddos will be primarily enrolled in a home district, and they'll go to that secondary enrollment to take their tech classes or whatever. So that's when you'll see those secondary enrollments there. The next tab is the attendance tab. Right now, there isn't a whole lot going on under this. We usually have, I think, 3 data points under here. And if you go to a previous year, you'll see those data points that used to be here. You got to go all the way down to 1819. Yes. So what is normally in here is an attendance rate, then an adjusted average daily attendance, and that AADA is actually what the districts get paid on for their funding. Then you're going to have chronic absenteeism data, and that may be it. We may have one hidden at the bottom. Nope, that's it. So there's 3 data points. What's been happening with COVID is we froze all funding, which means we kind of froze all attendance. So there hasn't been much for us to display here. There is a link currently on that attendance tab that goes to chronic absenteeism data that is posted on our website. So we have calculated it because we are required to calculate it and post it. But we kind of want to discourage people from comparing because things have been so crazy with attendance in these COVID years. So that's why we kind of pulled it all off the school report card and put it there. Okay, we're going to student groups. I'm having a hard time with this 4 minutes, Stevie. All right, student groups. We have all of our student counts pulled out into different disaggregated groups. We have economically disadvantaged, which you'll know as your free and reduced lunch students. We have several tabs under each of these. You can see the overview of the numbers, the trends, the last few years, or then the table of just the raw data. And remember, anywhere in here where you see any of the data, you'll be able to go out to the data sets and pull those down in flat files and use those if you need them. There's a download button right there. Thanks, Dee Dee. All right, so it's hard when I'm not driving. All right, under economically disadvantaged, I think we have that English learners. Yes, this resides in Wendy's area and OCIS, but there's your English learner counts. Then we have students with disabilities or students with an active IEP, and that is in OCIL. Then we have the homeless data group, which is also in OCIS. And I think we have one more at the bottom, migrant, yes. And then the migrant data group, which is also from OCIS. And I'll point out, because I don't know a whole lot about some of these groups, if you were to hover over that little eye there, it'll kind of give you a little explanation of exactly what is in that group. In the glossary, it'll give you some more information about exactly when that data is pulled. You know, I can speak to the student membership that's pulled as of the last day of school. You know, student counts are throughout the year. If you go to those little info icons or in the glossary, they'll tell you exactly on these groups, student groups, how and when that is pulled. All right, the last tab here is dropout and retention. And I am not quite as good on this. Do we have somebody on from OAA, or do we need to?
Mike Prater's on here, but
okay.
This student retention is OCS.
Yeah.
We just are showing grades 4 through 12 students that have been retained in school for reporting, and then the dropout rate. And you might have seen some numbers in there prior years. We just have the rate published for each school in that area. All right. Back to you, Jessica.
Okay. All right. So OFO has a little bit that flows over into the faculty and staff community tab as well. A lot of this data comes out of our MUNIS system. So you will have, and some of this data, you're going to say some of the faculty and staff data comes out of OFO, and then some is going to come out of education, licensure, words I can't say. So at the top, we have teacher full-time equivalency. That will be only at a district level. And then you're going to have your teacher count by gender and your teacher count by race, ethnicity. All of these are pulled from our PSD CSC files that are submitted as of September 15th every year. At the very bottom, there's student-teacher ratio that just takes that membership that we talked about before and uses those teacher counts. So I think I am now passing off to Scott.
So that first tab is what comes from MUNIS.
Yes, the first tab
The
is what
second
comes from
tab
MUNIS.
is what comes with faculty profiles, what's coming from educator licensure system.
Yeah.
And Dr. Mullen, take it from here.
Hello, my name is Scott Schmoes. I'm with the OELE, or the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness. Our first variable that we report is educator qualifications. So this is pulled from a variety of tables, most notably credentials, lead, or some combination of that. It reports the highest level of qualifications that educator at the school or district have received. The next is the average years of experience variable. So that will take the total years of experience for every single educator at a school and then aggregate that and then divide that by the total number of educators to get you that variable. The next is our inexperienced teachers variable. So we define an inexperienced teacher in Kentucky as a educator that has between 1 and 3 years of experience. We also report teachers that have less than 1 year of experience, which we sort of call a new teacher. After that, we report some certification data. We report the number of teachers who have received a emergency or provisional credential, and then also the number of teachers that are nationally board certified. That is not a certification the state issues, but rather a national certification. And then finally, we report teacher turnover, which is a variable that has somewhat of a complex calculation, but it takes into account educator movement from the prior year. The next and final variable on this tab is the teacher workings condition. This is from the Impact Kentucky survey. It is done every other year, so it was done in 2022. And it just does a high-level summarization of that survey data. And so our final tab of data that we report is what we call our disproportionality data. That is the inexperienced teacher data, the ineffective data, and the out-of-field data. The first one being the inexperienced teacher data, again, is those teachers that are have 1 to 3 years of experience. We break it out by whether the school was Title I eligible or not Title I eligible, and then we report it based upon these various subgroups. The next one is the students taught by an ineffective teacher. The state is not allowed to require or evaluate educators, so as a result, I send out a survey called the Kentucky Equitable Access to Effective Teacher Survey every year, in which the educators, or which the schools and districts report the number of ineffective educators that they have within their school or district. And then finally, we report the students taught out of field. And an out-of-field educator is an educator who is teaching a course that they are not certified or credentialed to teach. Both of all these variables here are used with a combination of our EPSB data, which is now coming up from our new KEC system, and is matched with student data out of
And then we'd like to talk about our technology data.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dee Dee. Hi, I'm Ben Maynard. I work on the digital learning team in OET. And while Dee Dee navigates to school, just to kind of let you know, access to technology is one of 8 collector items. So this information is input. It's not given by us through a data upload, but this is input at the school level. And so there are 8 questions. So 8 collection areas and 8 questions for access to technology. And those 8 questions are viewable by, well, it summarizes them into 2, 4, 6, but they're combined from 8 different questions around 3 kind of areas around devices. We know, digital learning is certainly an integral piece to student experiences right now. And so, access to devices, how many there are, how many are Wi-Fi enabled, but also internet access, how the school is connected, and also the Wi-Fi capabilities. And then also policy related questions about students bringing their own devices. And also if those devices are assigned to students are all really helpful pieces of information for parents as they consider schools and take into account all the things that make up their own students' experience at the school they're at. So, and then Dee Dee, that's just a really high level view of that. I'm going to kick it back to you because this is connected to the Civil Rights Data Collection.
So we do have some information from the Civil Rights Data Collection. We are required to report that on the school report card. Some times that actually seems a little dated, but it takes a while for the information to get reported and then sent back to us by the Office of Civil Rights. The data you're seeing here now is the 2017-18 data, so it's hard to align it to other reporting within the same card, but we will get new data from last, I guess 2 years ago soon, and that will be updated. But it includes information on advanced coursework, student suspensions, expulsions, arrests and referrals, and violent offenses, harassment and bullying. So a lot of behavior data, and then chronically absent students. And the definition for chronically absent students is a little bit different from the federal perspective than it is for the state reporting. So those two, the technology and the civil rights data collection, are both only available at the school level, not the district level. And you'll see we've got another exception like that later as we go through. So I think we have Mike Prater on now. So we're going to switch over to academic performance. And while we've got him on the call, we're going to quickly go through the accountability at the same time. Mike, you ready?
Sure. We're starting with academic performance here then.
It's okay with you. I can go the other way if you'd rather.
No, that's fine. So this at the high level just shows should be the proficient and distinguished percents by economically disadvantaged compared to non-economically. But if you move on into here, so the first, well, let's let it come in. It's a lot of data to load.
Area than anywhere else. So if anything's going to take time to load, it's this one. So.
First, here on the state assessments enrollment, and enrollment is based on where the students tested. We have two parts of this assessment. We just roll up where they actually took the assessment, and we have the accountability, which is based on where they were 100 days. The first portion up here, though, is for alternate assessment, and that's an IDEA requirement. We have to show the percentage and the number of students that tested the alternate assessment by content and grade. Next is the performance for reading, and all the content areas will be similar. You can filter and compare student groups. The overview shows you the percent proficient and distinguished, the novice apprentice proficient and distinguished, and the you can filter down to a grade or a specific performance level. And then the table just shows you the same data in table form. So, and then we have this for all content areas: math, science, social studies, editing and mechanics, and on-demand writing. So for ACT, it's going to be similar type data. You're going to be able to see an overview with a chart showing average score for English, reading, math, science, and composite, and then a table showing you that same breakdown. And below that, there should be the benchmarks, students meeting the Council on Post-Secondary Education benchmarks for English, reading, and math. There is no science benchmark CPE has, so therefore we don't show that. But it is going to show you, and it compares to the district and state. English learners, this is just showing the students that reached attainment on the access test, which is our English language screener. Kindergarten screener will show you by the composite and the individual subdomains in where a student was, whether they were ready with interventions, average, or just the different settings there. And then there's a trends tab and a table tab. In the table will be these details, but in the trend should show up to, I think it's 5 years that we keep in the report card. And then the table is just the actual detail numbers behind the percent ready with interventions, percent ready, ready with enrichments, and total percent ready. NAEP is actually updated now. The results that they just released, we only get state level data for NAEP. So every school or district will come back to the same table. They don't test enough to do district or school level reports because it's only a sample. And then state goals. This is required federally in ESSA to have state goals. And we do proficiency, graduation rate, and English learners, and it's at level. And you can look at the different groups or subjects. One thing to note is it starts really at 2022 because due to COVID, the feds allowed us to shift our goals out by 2 years. So instead of going to 2030, they now go to 2032 and start this year.
There, Mike. Bear with me. Decided to go to a blank screen. There we go. Okay, so what, you ready to go to accountability?
Yes.
It wasn't a very pretty one, but yeah, it's what happened.
So this is
ready to overall performance rating. So if you want to say anything about this before I drill into the accountability data.
just back in Senate Bill 158, a couple of years ago, they redid our accountability system. Prior, we had the STAR system, and now we switched to this color system. And the colors go from red being the lowest, orange, yellow, green, and blue is the highest performance. This also shows it has the pointer to the color the school or district is at, and it also has the federal classification. This is done by level, so an elementary or a middle or a high school, not by grade for accountability. You can go on now. And then that same overall performance rating will be on the accountability dashboard. And then below that, you get the indicator performance levels. Indicators go from very high, which is red, or very low, which is red, to very high, which is blue, with low, medium, and high in there in between. Same colors, but they actually have a label associated with them. And there are indicators for, well, it used to be proficiency, and let me find, now it is assessment performance on reading and math. What used to be separate is now assessment performance on science, social studies, and writing. Writing is combined writing for accountability. So we take the on-demand writing and the editing and mechanics, and those are averaged to get a overall score. Well, there's a table. So if you performed proficient on on-demand writing and novice on editing and mechanics, then there's a lookup table that will tell you what your performance level or your rating is. And again, these are all done at level. Reading, math, science, social studies, and writing, proficient on English language, quality of school, climate, and safety, which is a survey. And then for a high school, you have grad rate and post-secondary.
You're probably noticing this little spinning thing. That just means that district doesn't have any, and that's still an outstanding issue we're working on correcting. We probably need a message there instead of a spinning bar. So, Mike, would you like me to go into any?
Yes, go ahead into the Explore data and just hit this a little bit. So this is the individual data on the indicators themselves, and it always starts with the same that you saw in the previous, and then below that you have the details for student groups. And for any particular performance level, so like very low, for this school, students with disabilities hit that category. And then you can see all the different demographics groups that were in that performance level or got that rating on that particular indicator. And this,
combining like all the elementary schools.
And then the middle schools, because you're looking at the district. A school would only have the levels that were actually in that school. So just a normal elementary school would only have the elementary level. A combined P12 would have all three. Or an elementary middle, a P8 would have elementary middle. The other indicators, similar to, well, look at the reading and math table, or one of them. You're going to have the details, and it's just in table format that shows the percent that hit each performance level and then their index for that group performance level. This is disaggregated by the federal required demographics. State assessment results for science, social studies, and combined writing is going to look similar to that. Quality in School Climate and Safety Survey is a survey that's given at every tested grade, and it's aggregated up by elementary, middle, and high. You'll see similar to the other. You'll have the very low and the student groups. And then if you look at going over to the next tab, you went to graduation. Go back to survey for a second. And go to one of the elementary or middle, it doesn't matter, or high, any of them. Just to kind of show, we do break down by question and show the percent that answered in each of the potential answers on the survey. Strongly agree, or strongly disagree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree. You see most of them are in the higher categories. And the very last tab is just the indicator scores and how they roll up for accountability, or the index scores and how they roll up for accountability. There's two parts to the survey. There is climate, which are questions like, let's see, I have one down here. My school is a caring place, or I feel like I'm a part of my school. And the safety section, adults at my school handle safety concerns quickly. So it's, and then those two average together to give you the overall index score. Okay, so English language proficiency.
They were spinning, so we know they don't have any data. So we switched
Oh,
to
okay.
look will be about the same for those schools that do have it.
Right. So the graduation rate, for accountability, we use a combined 4 and 5 year. They're averaged together to give you the graduation rate. And then just like every other indicator, it shows you where the school performed overall, plus the subdemographics. And there are also tables that show you the breakdown of the 4 and 5 year. Post-secondary just tells you if a school had students that met the criteria for post-secondary readiness, and that's either a career option or an academic option. The academic option is, for example, meeting the benchmark on the ACT. There is also in career side, there is a high demand bonus, and that's if they hit an industry cert in any high demand area. Scott can answer more questions on that than I can, but they do get a bonus, and there's some committee that decides that. The last tab is assessment participation. And that's another federal requirement that we show by grade, or no, this would be by level, sorry. And by demographics, the participation rates for a school. It does affect their, it can affect federal funding if you don't hit the 95% or higher participation rate. And just briefly, I'll mention a little on the English proficiency. There's not one for this school. It'll look just like the other indicators. English proficiency is has to do with students and growth. How did they progress from last year's assessment on the access to this year's assessment? And there is a table based on how much they move that gives them a score, and that's aggregated up.
And you can see that if you go into the state view, because there is data for many districts. There just didn't happen to be some on the data that I pulled. So this is what Mike's mentioning there. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Switch over to educational opportunity. Karen, do you want to start us off here? So Karen and Scott showed this first part.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen Davidson with the Office of Teaching and Learning. Advanced coursework is a little bit shared between our office and OCTE. On the advanced courses, we've got the courses that are actually offered. So it will list out all of the AP, IB, CAI, or dual credit courses by topic in that section. And then, and are we still in Franklin County, Dee Dee, or are we at the state level now?
When I was looking for education, let me just pop back to Franklin.
No, this is fine. I was just wondering, because you wouldn't see, this is probably better because you wouldn't see, we only have a few schools that do IB and CAI, so those will show up at the state view, but most schools won't have those courses showing. And then we do drill into course participation and performance. So for all of our AP courses, we show how many students were enrolled. We know that not necessarily all students that enroll in a course complete the course, so we show the completers, and then how many took the test at the end, the AP test, and then how many have the qualifying score on that test. And that data is submitted to us by the College Board. And we break that down into a percentage there, how many of the students that took the test actually completed. Same thing for IB, that's International Baccalaureate. Again, we only have a few schools offering that in the state. And same thing for, this is Cambridge. I always forget what the A stands for. Cambridge Advanced International.
That's right.
I believe. There it is. Wonderful. I get so used to the acronyms, I forget to think about what they actually mean. And then there's another tab up at the top for dual credit. So that breaks down similarly the dual credit courses that are offered. And these are a little bit bucketed. We have a system in our course code catalog on the academic side where we have, there's about 8 course codes for different buckets that different courses get aligned to. So public speaking, English 101, a writing course would all kind of fall into the English language arts bucket, for example. And on the CTE side, it's a little bit different. They just kind of pick the course code that best aligns with what they're taking, but also fall into some of these overarching buckets here. So you can also see how many students enrolled in the courses, how many completed them, and then how many had a qualifying grade. So this is a little bit different in that there's no exam at the end like AP or IB, but we do discern, passing the course by having that qualifying grade.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Ashka, would you like to go over the gifted and talented?
Sure, thanks. So if you look, are we still in overview mode?
I've got gifted and talented for the state pulled up.
For the state pulled up. Yeah, we'll go there and then we can take a look at a district. So what you'll see is gifted and talented by participation by grade. And so you'll get to see all the basic demographic information. If you click the drop down, you can select a specific grade, or you can, right now we're looking at all students. So I think here we have looking at 5th grade, and you'll see it by male, female, ethnicity, socioeconomic, different things. The second table you can see, if you continue to scroll down, is by participation category. So the different categories that a student can be identified in for gifted and talented services. Right now we're looking at the state view. If you break it down, if you go to a specific district view, you'll see, I'll wait till we get there. So if you're looking at a specific school district, now you're going to see the same information. If you click the I next to participation by grade, it lets you know that it is including in this data set primary talent pool or gifted and talented, K through 3 for primary talent pool and gifted and talented by grade level in grades 4 through 12. And again, you can break it down by grade. And those are the 2 tables provided on the school report card for gifted and talented. And Dee Dee, I think that's it.
Is Franklin an okay school to district to use for the career?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Uselis from Office of Career and Technical Education, so kind of responsible for all the CTE data. Yeah, under educational opportunity, we have several tabs here. First is career pathways, which is going to show active enrollments. That's the number of kids that are actively taking these career pathways during the past school year. Concentrator students are those that have completed 2 or more credits in their career pathway. And then pathway completers are those that have completed 4 or greater credits within their career pathway. And it kind of just gives the breakdown again by pathways available in that particular district or school. CTE participation is new this year. It's a new table. There used to just be 3 tabs. Now there's 4. This is breaking it down by demographic information. So the kids that are in CTE in Franklin County, how many are female versus male, all the different race codes, IEP, etc. It's going to have in how they're participating in CTE. So it breaks it down by number of participants, what percentage of those kids are participating, number of completers that they have in those particular demographic groups, and then the percentage of completers out of that demographic group. CTE student objective is, as you can see, a fairly simple table, but what it's showing again is the breakdown. So for 12th grade kids that took any CTE coursework during their during their high school career, it's going to break them out. So kids that only took 1 course in CTE would be considered an explorer. So 44% of the kids here were explorers. Concentrator, again, 2 or greater credits in any pathway, 29%. And completer, again, is 4 or greater credits in a pathway. And then it gives the end count, the number of kids that fall into that grade 12 cohort that took CTE coursework at some point during high school. And then finally, we have what are called early post-secondary opportunities. So what it's going to show here is industry certifications. And as Michael Prater was saying earlier about career readiness, this is the only way to earn a bonus in the post-secondary readiness system. They do earn a point and a quarter, so 1.25 points, if they pass an industry certification that's deemed high demand by the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board, is who is in charge of that. But at this school, these are the industry certifications that were available during the past year. The end of program assessment is attached to post-secondary articulated credit. It's an exam. Those are the ones that are available there. And then apprenticeship, it's going to show those that participated in what we call TRAC, or Tech Ready Apprentices for Careers in Kentucky, apprenticeship programs at that particular district.
Thanks, Scott. Mike, do you want to mention something about this other part of the annual survey, the opportunity to learn?
Sure, I can give a brief. For the last couple of years, due to a lot of remote instruction, we had some opportunity to learn survey questions that were given along with the climate and safety survey. And these were just to find out a little bit about what was going on in the classroom and if students were able to successfully learn during that time. I think this is going away next year, but this is the aggregated results of that by question, and it'll look just like the other survey data. There's a table, it's by level. But this was just some additional information that the commissioner's office, I think, or someone at KDE wanted, so we added these questions.
If you were to look at that information for prior years, you would see it under the school safety area. Just so if you're looking at it to compare one year to the next, or if you want to see more detail on that, what did move this year. So I wanted to bring up this one at school level, because I've mentioned to you previously there was another exception where there was some data that was only available at the school level. There is this general education coursework section here. And Karen, do you want to cover that real quickly?
Sure, thank you. So this is, as Ben mentioned earlier, we have a collector. This is what we call the the school profile. And districts are invited to answer these questions in a collection form before the school report card site goes live. So basically for these different areas, Didi, if you wouldn't mind scrolling back to the top so I can mention the different topic areas. We have visual performing arts, health and physical education, career studies, and world languages. We had an advisory panel, I'm not sure how many years ago now, but they kind of came up with these questions. They wanted to get some of our elements of the school that make a well-rounded student onto the school report card that aren't assessed. So this shows how many instructional minutes people get, how many students get, and just have some different elements like that that show how much focus and attention these different areas are getting within the different schools.
It actually allows the schools to highlight some of their course offerings, and that information does go into the school profile report that is legislatively required, and that is the reason we collect this information for that reporting.
And I will say down towards the bottom there of the screen, it shows there was a table that shows how many students are enrolled in the different courses. This is based off of course data that's pulled from Infinite Campus. So we pull that and then schools check and verify the accuracy of that data. So they aren't inputting that data. That's the only piece that we present for them.
Switch back to transition to adult life. Okay. If you've not turned on your Q&A and you have questions, please enter your questions in the Q&A. Thanks for that reminder. And Jesse, if you want to just cover current graduates, this is new for this year.
Okay. Yeah, this is a new table for this year. We have a lot of graduate information over in assessment accountability land, but this differs because this doesn't use any of the cohort data. A lot of times people were asking us, well, just how many people graduated last year? And so this is a count of any students with a G code, whether those kids graduated, early in October or walked with everybody in May. This is just an overall count at district and school level of those graduates. So real simple count there, broke down. But like Didi said, if you go to look for it the previous years, it's not going to be there. First year for it.
Scott, you want to cover the next couple?
Sure. Yeah. This is what we call the career readiness indicators. So for those that did, it's going to look at the whole school, or in this case, the whole district, and it's going to break down how many kids earned which career readiness indicators, or if they earned multiple. So industry certification, into program assessment, etc. If they earned more than one indicator, it's identified there. And then no indicator doesn't mean that the kid wasn't post-secondary ready. It's just saying that they didn't attain career readiness. And it talks about the end count, the end counts there at the top.
And if you want to just go ahead and cover the transition to adult life.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, this data is actually a year lagging, even though it's the 21-22 school report card. This is for class of 2021 students. We collaborate with the Kentucky Center for Statistics, or KY Stats, to verify this data. Schools go in on the graduation tab in Infinite Campus and put where they think a kid will end up, based on the best of their knowledge. We take that, we work with KY Stats to verify where they ended up, basically. So it's going to give it by, college, technical training, military, working, work school combination, or those that are working and going to school. And then others are ones that could not be captured, or there's some other reason they're not being reported in one of those above groups. And then finally, this is a disaggregated breakdown of same year, so class of 2021 kids, in-state post-secondary education. So how many went on to college, how many went to a public 4-year institution or a 2-year institution, and then how many went to a private 4-year institution. And it breaks it down again by every demographic group.
And we have some school safety data. And Wendy, are you able to jump on for that part of it?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the school safety data is, all of this data is populated from Infinite Campus, the behavior management tool. And there are several tables on this first tab, labeled Safe Schools Data. There, we provide behavior events by grade level for the school. So if you can go back up, Dee Dee, quickly. It'll give you every table is going to give you the all students group, which is individual unique students that were involved in a behavior event, and then total events. And then everything else is broken down by gender, race, ethnicity, and our student groups of economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, English learners, migrant, homeless, gifted and talented, and military dependent. So then the next table is behavior events by type. So this is the actual behavior event. Was it assault first degree, other violence or assault, weapons, harassment or bullying, drugs, alcohol, tobacco? And then the last category is those other events that resulted in a state resolution but were not a high-level actual event. The next table is behavior events by location. So this is where did the behavior incident actually occur? And some are lumped together in other that are lower counts, but the main, as you can see, would be in the classroom. But that just gives you that detail as to where the event occurred. The next table is behavior events by context. So did this happen at a school-sponsored event or a non-school sponsored event? Did it happen during school hours or outside of during school hours? So that's, or outside of school hours. Those are all required to be reported based on our state regulation. You can go down to the next table, which is discipline resolution. So these are your state level resolutions, expulsions, out of school suspensions, corporal punishment, in school and in district removals that are greater than 0.5 of the day, your restraints, seclusions, and then unilateral removals. Those last two are very low. We don't have very many in the state ever, and they are specific to special education students. And then the last table is legal sanctions. So these are the categories of students that have behavior events that resulted in an arrest or charges filed, civil damages, or if there was a school resource officer or court designated worker involved in the behavior event. And all of those tables have download options, so you can download the data from there. And if you go up to the top again, there's a tab called precautionary measures, and this is one of our collector tools. So schools have to, I don't think you're going to see it at the district level. Oh, we're at a school. Okay, I'm sorry. So schools have to answer these questions. It's self-reported data about the safety precautionary measures for the school itself, the building, and so all of these are just, I think there's 11 questions now. And it also will provide what the school, in addition to the discipline safety measures, if you can scroll down, it also gives approaches for school-wide implementation for different programs within the district or the school or the organization that you're looking at.
Ready? Okay, we got one last key topic area. You'll sometimes hear us call them domains. And I'm going to go back to Franklin County, but I need to go back to previous year, don't I?
Yeah.
All right, we'll turn it over to Jesse.
Are you going to steal it or nothing? All right, everybody. The last domain we're going to talk about today is the finance domain. And it's a little funny. It operates on a little bit different schedule than the rest of the school report card. And that's because of the district's financial audit. We have to wait till that audited data is in. And that audited data usually will not come in until, I think, March of the following year. So, we're still processing 21-22 data right now. The rest of this report card is out. We're processing 21-22 data. So it will hit the school report card probably, hopefully, in May of every year. It's what we shoot for because the requirement is the end of June. So we shoot for May. The majority of what you will see in the finance domain is district level data because that comes in through our AFR process. We process district level file and put it out there. We have a lot of tabs that get really far down in the weeds. I'm just going to kind of go short on time, very overview. You got a financial summary, you've got some taxes, some state funding with the SEEK, and then you have funding and spending. Now, if you go into the spending section, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. There is one little bit of information that's on the school level, and that's that spending per student tab at the very end. If you're interested in finance, there's lots of good data in here, but that spending per student is the one area that you can drill down to school level on the finance domain. And the way that happens, we don't have that data here. The districts are required every year to calculate school level spending per student in a couple of different buckets. We've got, federal funds and state and local funds broken down by personnel and non-personnel. And then you have a total all funds at the end. The districts will calculate those, send them to us via the collector, and they'll be shown there. I will point out that the all funds source, beware of that, because some people look at this. You can't add the first two together to get the all funds. You can't add, state and local and federal. You would think that those are using federal definitions, and this all funds source is something that we've used in Kentucky for a long time. I think 2017 was the first year it was federally required to put this information out there, but we've had it for a while. So it includes things like construction and debt service and things that are excluded from the other numbers up top that for the federal requirements. So that was the 30-second finance overview.
Great, thank you. So we have gone through a lot of key topic area. We've gone through, and we mentioned here before that you can actually go in and compare. You can add different schools and compare schools and districts. But I also want to mention a little bit about the data sets. We've mentioned that you can get to them from any data source. And I think any data point you can get to it, you'll get all schools, not just that one school for that data source. But you're going to get calls from folks that actually want data. This is a great place to send folks to the school report card, because there are a set of data sets for every school report card year that's published. If you go to the data sets, you're going to actually see information. And if remember when Jesse first went over the students, if I click on students, I'm going to see student membership, student count, secondary enrollment. I can download any one of those data sets. And if you're getting questions on something, on how many students were there at the end of last year, you can very easily go here. If you need to come up with a report by district, you can take that report. It goes into Excel, and you can add a sort and sort it by just district, or just filter it to districts. If you just want to see district level data. If you just want to see certain race ethnicities or a student group, it gives you an opportunity to go in here and sort or filter the Excel report to get to the data that you need very easily. So that's kind of our high level overview, and we spoke very fast. All of us did, and we did kept it at a high level. This may bring up questions that you have, and I hope you will reach out to the folks that know the best. Kentucky has we look at we have in KDE data stewards. They're the point of contact that knows the most about the data. So if it's not the person that you're reaching out to talk to today, they'll get you to the right person to talk to into more detail about something. So do take advantage of the data that's available to you. I know we had some Q&A. Are there any that have not been answered? I got to switch computer. They've all been answered in there. If it brought up another question, again, reach back out. If they've all been answered, I just want to thank the school report card team. They are a great group. I honestly enjoy it. It's a big task to put a school report card together every year, but we've got a great group of Kentucky people that are working on that. Bright Bites has been a good partner in this work, as well as some technical staff within the Office of Education Technology that does some of the others, and Infinite Campus, UNIS, all the other systems that have data in them, the KEC system. If it wasn't for all the good data systems that we have in Kentucky, it would be a much harder task to do what we do to provide this data. So if you have any questions and they're just general in nature, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We also use a generic data KDE data request at education.ky.gov. That if you want to submit a question to that, we can help get it to the right person. So we want to thank you for your participation today. And believe it or not, we're going to end on time. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. And thank you for participating.